A podcast host walked into a CNN studio with a folder full of evidence to destroy Elon Musk's reputation forever. What happened next shocked millions of viewers and ended with him being dragged away in handcuffs because those documents weren't what he thought they were. Jon Lovett strode onto the CNN studio stage with unshakable confidence, clutching what he believed was the ultimate weapon to obliterate Elon Musk's reputation. What transpired in the following 90 seconds left the entire audience stunned into silence and concluded with security forcibly removing Lovett from the set in handcuffs. Nobody anticipated the explosive drama that would unfold that evening on The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. The show was proceeding according to its established format: breaking news updates, political commentary, and a featured segment with tech mogul Elon Musk discussing his groundbreaking infrastructure partnership with the Department of Transportation. The studio lights reflected brilliantly off the polished anchor desk as Wolf Blitzer introduced the segment with his signature authoritative presence. Joining us this evening, Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and Jon Lovett, former presidential speechwriter and renowned podcast host. Musk appeared on the left monitor, broadcasting remotely from what appeared to be a bustling factory floor, sleeves rolled up, looking slightly disheveled yet intensely focused. On the right screen sat Lovett, immaculately dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, broadcasting from CNN's New York studio, a calculated smile dancing across his lips. "Thank you for joining us, gentlemen," Blitzer commenced. "Mr. Musk, let's begin with today's announcement regarding the innovative public-private partnership." But Lovett immediately interjected. "Actually, Wolf, before we dive into the carefully orchestrated PR announcement, I have something urgent I need to discuss with Elon." His tone was razor-sharp and obviously rehearsed, indicating he had been anticipating this exact moment. Musk arched an eyebrow, leaning closer to his camera with curiosity. "Absolutely, proceed." What Lovett declared next was intended to be his crowning moment of triumph. Instead, it initiated a cascade of events that nobody could have predicted, culminating with him being physically escorted from the studio while millions of stunned viewers watched the drama unfold in real time. If you're witnessing this explosive confrontation for the first time, make sure to like and subscribe as we dissect the precise moment Jon Lovett's scheme to humiliate Elon Musk spectacularly imploded on national television. For months, Jon Lovett had leveraged his platform as co-host of Pod Save America to relentlessly criticize Elon Musk's business practices, political statements, and public persona. A former speechwriter for President Obama, Lovett had cultivated a reputation as a sharp-tongued political commentator who never backed down from confrontation. His podcast commanded millions of devoted listeners, and his attacks on Musk had become increasingly personal and vicious in recent episodes. Musk, meanwhile, had largely dismissed these criticisms, concentrating instead on his company's revolutionary innovations and his expanding government partnerships. The announcement that brought him to CNN that evening was monumental. A $12 billion, zero-cents infrastructure project projected to generate approximately 60,000 jobs across 5 states, merging Tesla's cutting-edge battery technology with federal transportation initiatives. What most viewers remained unaware of was that 3 days prior, Lovett had posted on social media, eagerly anticipating finally confronting Elon face-to-face on CNN, time to reveal the truth behind the PR facade. His followers had enthusiastically encouraged the confrontation, suggesting probing questions and devastating angles of attack. Lovett had invested countless hours preparing what he was convinced would be a career-ending expose. For Wolf Blitzer and CNN, this was supposed to be a routine news segment about American infrastructure and technological advancement. Neither the veteran anchor nor the network executives had any inkling that Lovett had planned to completely hijack the conversation. Security protocols were standard for the evening, present but unobtrusive, as was typical for high-profile guests. Sitting in the New York studio, Lovett had a manila folder positioned conspicuously on the desk before him. He tapped it deliberately twice as he interrupted Blitzer, a gesture seemingly calculated to draw attention to whatever explosive evidence he believed it contained. "Elon, for months you've been proclaiming this infrastructure project represents American jobs and innovation," Lovett began, his voice carrying the practiced rhythm of someone delivering a meticulously prepared statement. "But I possess documentation here that reveals a dramatically different story." Musk's expression remained completely neutral, perhaps slightly intrigued. "What documentation would that be, John?" The stakes had instantaneously transformed. What had been scheduled as a policy discussion about infrastructure was now unmistakably something else entirely. A personal confrontation, with potentially devastating implications for both men's reputations, for the infrastructure project itself, and potentially for the relationship between one of America's most innovative companies and the federal government. Behind the scenes, CNN producers were frantically communicating through their headsets. Wolf Blitzer, a consummate professional with decades of experience navigating unexpected on-air situations, maintained his composure while glancing slightly off-camera, clearly seeking guidance from his production team. "Before you open that folder, John," Musk said with remarkable calm, "I should mention that I'm fully aware of the accusations you've been broadcasting on your podcast, and I've come prepared to address them directly. Perhaps we should both reveal our cards on the table." This response, measured, undefensive, and seemingly prepared, was absolutely not what Leavitt had anticipated. For a brief moment, his confidence visibly faltered. "My cards are right here," Leavitt said, quickly recovering and opening the folder with dramatic flair. "3 separate whistleblowers from Tesla's Nevada facility have provided documented proof that your company plans to utilize foreign manufactured components while claiming Made in America tax credits." He extracted several pages, holding them prominently to the camera. "These internal memos outline a deliberate strategy to conceal the origin of key battery components by routing them through shell companies in Arizona and New Mexico." Wolf Blitzer, clearly troubled about the serious allegations being made on live television, attempted to regain control of the segment. "These are extremely significant claims that would typically require thorough fact-checking beforehand." But Leavitt pressed forward relentlessly, his voice rising with intensity. "The American public deserves to know that this so-called patriotic infrastructure project is being built on outright fraud. Elon has been deliberately lying to taxpayers, to regulators, and to his own employees." Rather than appearing defensive or angry, Musk's expression showed something completely unexpected. A hint of what looked almost like satisfaction. He nodded to someone off camera on his end. "John, I was hoping you'd take this exact route," Musk said, his tone surprisingly pleasant. "Because it gives me the perfect opportunity to clear something up publicly." The screen beside Musk suddenly displayed a document of its own, what appeared to be an official legal letter. "What you're holding are indeed Tesla internal documents, but they're not what you believe they are. They're part of a counterintelligence operation we've been conducting in coordination with federal authorities for the past 6 months," Musk continued steadily. Leavitt's expression froze completely. "Those documents were created specifically to identify a corporate espionage network that's been systematically targeting American technology companies. The information was deliberately falsified. The only individuals who have access to those specific documents are people we've been monitoring under suspicion of industrial espionage." Wolf Blitzer leaned forward intensely. "Mr. Musk, are you saying these documents are part of a sting operation?" "Precisely," Musk replied. "And the fact that they're now in Mr. Leavitt's possession raises extremely serious questions about how he obtained them and who provided them to him." The camera captured Leavitt's reaction in real time, his face draining of color as the implications became crystal clear. "These were provided by whistleblowers concerned about—" "Those weren't whistleblowers," Musk interrupted, his voice still calm, but now carrying an edge of steel. "We've already identified 2 of the 3 individuals who accessed these documents. Both are currently under investigation by the FBI for links to foreign technology theft operations. By presenting these documents on national television, you've potentially compromised an ongoing federal investigation." The studio fell into deathly silence, Wolf Blitzer visibly processing this dramatic turn of events. He finally spoke. "Mr. Leavitt, would you care to respond to these claims?" Leavitt's composure, normally unshakable, was visibly crumbling before the cameras. He shuffled the papers in front of him frantically, perhaps searching for something that would validate his position. These documents came from credible sources within Tesla. If they're falsified as part of some operation, then I was deliberately misled. But you were far more than misled, Musk interjected firmly. You were either used as an unwitting asset in industrial espionage, or you were knowingly participating in it. Either way, those documents contain information classified by the Department of Energy due to their role in the counterintelligence operation. Behind Leavitt, almost out of frame, two men in dark suits had silently entered the studio. Wolf Blitzer, noting their presence, appeared momentarily distracted. "This is absolutely ridiculous," Leavitt said, his voice rising to a near shout. "You can't just declare documents classified after the fact to cover up your—" "They were classified 6 months ago when the operation began," Musk stated, and the screen beside him changed to display what appeared to be a federal document with the Department of Energy and FBI logos prominently visible at the top. "This is the authorization for the counterintelligence operation. The date is clearly visible." One of the suited men approached Leavitt, bending to speak quietly in his ear. The microphone barely caught the words. "Sir, we need you to surrender those documents immediately." Leavitt turned, visibly startled. "Who are you?" "You can't just—" "FBI, sir," the man said, this time loud enough for the microphone to capture clearly. "Those documents are classified. Surrendering them now will be noted favorably in our report." The second suited man approached from the other side, effectively flanking Leavitt at the desk. The podcast host's expression cycled rapidly through shock, disbelief, and mounting panic. Wolf Blitzer, attempting to maintain some semblance of broadcast normalcy, turned to Musk. "Mr. Musk, perhaps you could explain more about this counterintelligence operation while we resolve this situation?" Musk nodded. "For the past year, Tesla and several other American technology companies have been targeted by a sophisticated industrial espionage operation. Federal authorities approached us about creating a controlled information environment to identify the sources of the leaks. The documents Mr. Leavitt is currently holding contain deliberately falsified information that was seeded through specific channels to trace back to the source of the leaks." On screen, Leavitt could be seen arguing heatedly with the FBI agents, gesturing emphatically with his hands. His microphone had been cut, but his agitation was clearly visible to viewers nationwide. "The operation has successfully identified several individuals who were extracting sensitive technical information and passing it to foreign entities," Musk continued. "What's particularly troubling is how this information was then being laundered through media figures to make it appear as legitimate whistleblowing rather than what it actually is: theft of American intellectual property and classified energy technology." Behind Leavitt, a third security official had entered the frame. The situation was clearly escalating rapidly. "I have nothing to hide." Leavitt's voice suddenly came through again, his microphone apparently reactivated as he stood up from his chair. "This is an intimidation tactic to discredit legitimate journalism." The FBI agent closest to him remained perfectly calm. "Sir, those documents are classified. Refusing to surrender them is a These are copies," Leavitt shot back defiantly. "The originals are already secure." "Possession of classified copies is still a violation of federal law," the agent replied evenly. "Sir, please surrender the documents and come with us." Wolf Blitzer, attempting to regain control of his broadcast, addressed the viewers directly. "We appear to be experiencing an unprecedented situation in our New York studio. Let's return to our conversation with Elon Musk while this is resolved." But Leavitt wasn't going quietly. This is exactly the kind of corporate government collusion that the public needs to know about. You can't just classify information to hide corporate fraud. Musk, still visible on his split screen, shook his head slightly. "John, you've been manipulated by individuals committing espionage against American companies. The information in those documents was deliberately falsified to identify leaks. The real fraud here is presenting stolen classified documents as legitimate whistleblowing." The camera captured Leavitt backing away from the approaching agents, still clutching his folder desperately. "You expect people to believe that this is some elaborate sting operation? That's conveniently timed." "It's not convenient, it's planned," Musk replied. "We've known for weeks that these documents were in circulation. The federal investigators have been tracking their movement. Your social media post 3 days ago announcing you were going to expose the truth on CNN tonight actually helped authorities prepare for this exact scenario." One of the agents reached for the folder in Leavitt's hands. What happened next would be replayed on news channels and social media for days to come. Leavitt pulled the folder away sharply, then attempted to move past the agents toward the studio exit. The lead agent stepped into his path, and Leavitt responded with a sudden shove that caught the agent off balance. Within seconds, all 3 security personnel had moved in. The camera caught Leavitt being restrained, the folder falling to the floor, papers scattering dramatically. "This is assault on the free press," he shouted as one agent secured his wrists with handcuffs. "Elon is using government connections to silence criticism." Wolf Blitzer, appearing genuinely shocked by the turn of events, addressed the audience. "We're going to take a brief break and return when we've sorted out this unexpected situation." But before the broadcast cut to commercial, Musk delivered one final, devastating statement. "What you're witnessing isn't an attack on journalism. It's the enforcement of laws protecting American technology and national security. Real journalists verify their sources and the authenticity of their documents. They don't unwittingly become distribution channels for foreign intelligence operations." As the commercial break began, viewers were left with the arresting image of John Leavitt being escorted from the studio in handcuffs, his attempted expose having catastrophically backfired. When the broadcast returned 5 minutes later, Wolf Blitzer appeared alone on screen. "For those just joining us, we've experienced an unprecedented situation during our interview segment. Former presidential speechwriter John Leavitt has been taken into custody by federal agents after presenting what Elon Musk identified as classified documents related to an ongoing counterintelligence operation. We're working to gather more details on this developing story." The camera switched to Musk, who was still connected remotely. "I want to clarify something crucial," he said, his tone measured and serious. "This isn't about silencing critics. I've faced criticism throughout my career, and I generally ignore it. This is about protecting American innovation and intellectual property from theft. The documents Mr. Leavitt presented contain deliberately falsified information created specifically to identify leaks of sensitive technology. The only people who had access to those specific documents were individuals already under investigation for industrial espionage." Blitzer, still visibly processing the dramatic events, asked the question viewers were thinking. "Mr. Musk, how long has this counterintelligence operation been active, and was CNN aware that this confrontation might occur during our broadcast?" "The operation has been ongoing for approximately 6 months, Musk replied, "and no, CNN was not informed in advance. Law enforcement made the decision to monitor this broadcast after Leavitt's social media post suggested he would be revealing stolen information. They were present as a precaution, which proved necessary given how events unfolded." The remainder of the segment focused on the legitimate infrastructure project announcement, but the damage was done. What should have been Leavitt's moment of triumph had instead become a public humiliation that raised serious questions about his journalistic methods and the reliability of his sources. Within minutes of the broadcast ending, video clips of Leavitt's confrontation, Musk's revelation, and the subsequent arrest exploded across social media. "Leavitt cuffed." An espionage sting became the top trending hashtags nationwide. The stunning visual of a prominent political commentator being led away in handcuffs after attempting to expose a billionaire created an immediate firestorm. Initial public reactions split along predictable lines. Leavitt's supporters claimed he was being silenced by powerful corporate interests colluding with government agencies. Musk's defenders praised the protection of American intellectual property and technology. But as more details emerged in the hours that followed, the narrative began to shift decisively. The Department of Justice released a brief statement confirming that classified documents related to an ongoing counterintelligence operation were inappropriately displayed during a television broadcast and that an individual has been taken into custody in connection with the unauthorized possession. The statement neither confirmed nor denied Musk's specific claims about the nature of the operation. By midnight, CNN had issued its own statement. CNN had no prior knowledge of Mr. Leavitt's intentions to present potentially classified documents during our broadcast, nor were we aware of any counterintelligence operation. We are cooperating fully with authorities and conducting our own internal review of pre-interview protocols. The following morning, major newspapers carried the story on their front pages. The New York Times ran with podcast host detained after presenting classified documents on live TV. The Washington Post headlined, Musk claims Leavitt unwittingly aided espionage operation. The Wall Street Journal took a different angle with, industrial espionage operation exposed in dramatic live TV confrontation. Legal experts filled the airwaves explaining the serious implications of possessing and publicly displaying classified information. If these documents were indeed classified as part of a counterintelligence operation, one former federal prosecutor explained on Good Morning America, then regardless of how he obtained them or his intentions in presenting them, Mr. Leavitt could face significant legal jeopardy. Leavitt's podcast co-host released a statement expressing shock at the events and stating they had no prior knowledge of the documents or their classification status. We believe John acted in good faith based on what he believed was legitimate information from whistleblowers. We are arranging legal representation and support for him during this challenging time. Meanwhile, technology and business publications began digging deeper into Musk's claims about industrial espionage targeting American companies. Several revealed that Tesla wasn't the only company that had been working with federal authorities to identify and counter technology theft. Reports emerged that similar operations had been conducted with other major technology firms, lending credibility to Musk's explanation. 3 days after the incident, the Justice Department held a press conference that substantiated many of Musk's claims. The FBI deputy director confirmed that a significant counterintelligence operation targeting industrial espionage has been active for several months, with the cooperation of multiple American technology companies. While not mentioning Leavitt by name, he stated that individuals who came into possession of classified documents created for this operation have potentially compromised national security and economic interests. The press conference included a bombshell revelation. 2 of Leavitt's purported whistleblowers had been arrested and charged with espionage on behalf of a foreign government. The third remained at large and was believed to have fled the country. For Leavitt, the legal and reputational consequences were severe. Released on bail but with his passport confiscated, he faced potential charges under the Espionage Act. His podcast announced an indefinite hiatus. Former colleagues and media allies gradually distanced themselves as more details about the counterintelligence operation emerged. A week after the incident, Leavitt released a brief statement through his attorney. I believed I was receiving information from legitimate whistleblowers concerned about corporate fraud. I had no knowledge these individuals were involved in espionage or that the documents were classified. I acted in what I believed was the public interest and the interest of journalistic truth. The statement did little to repair his reputation. Media critics and journalism schools began using the incident as a case study in the dangers of inadequate source verification and the risks of rushing to publicize sensational claims without thorough fact-checking. For Musk, the incident paradoxically enhanced his credibility. His companies were now seen not just as innovative enterprises, but as partners in protecting American intellectual property from foreign theft. The infrastructure project that should have been the focus of the original CNN segment proceeded with broad bipartisan support, now framed partly as a matter of national security and economic protection. 6 months later, a Senate Intelligence Committee report provided a comprehensive overview of the industrial espionage campaign that had targeted American technology companies without directly mentioning the CNN incident. The report confirmed that a controlled information environment using deliberately falsified technical specifications had been created to identify individuals stealing sensitive technology. The report concluded that the operation had successfully identified multiple agents working on behalf of foreign governments to extract proprietary technology with military and energy applications. The long-term impact of the incident extended beyond the individuals involved. Media organizations implemented stricter protocols for verifying information from purported whistleblowers. Technology companies developed more sophisticated methods for tracing the movement of sensitive information, and government agencies refined their approaches to public partnerships in counterintelligence operations. As one media ethics professor summarized in a widely cited analysis, the Leavitt-Musk confrontation revealed the complex vulnerabilities at the intersection of journalism, technology, and national security. In an era where information can be weaponized, traditional journalistic approaches to speaking truth to power must evolve to include more rigorous verification processes. When journalists become unwitting vectors for disinformation or intelligence operations, everyone loses except those who seek to compromise American innovation and security. For everyday Americans watching the drama unfold, the incident offered a rare window into the normally invisible world of industrial espionage and counterintelligence. It demonstrated how public figures can be manipulated, how media can be weaponized, and how the line between whistleblowing and espionage can sometimes blur in dangerous ways. The final irony was that Leavitt, who had sought to expose what he believed was corporate deception, had instead exposed something else entirely: the sophisticated methods foreign actors use to steal American technology, and the innovative countermeasures deployed to protect it. In attempting to mock Elon Musk on live television, he had inadvertently highlighted the very real threats facing American innovation in the global technology race. So if this story made you think about the complex relationship between media, technology, and national security, subscribe to this channel. We'll continue analyzing the high-stakes confrontations that reveal deeper truths about how information flows and power operates in today's interconnected world. Because, as the Leavitt-Musk incident demonstrated, sometimes the most revealing moments come when someone thinks they're exposing someone else, only to end up exposing something far more significant about the challenges we face as a society.